You're now watching the Good, Bad, and Ugly podcast featuring Kevin Bunk, John Downs, and Reese Jantz.
All right, GBU, welcome back. Week 18 has concluded, and we have our second off-season preview. Remember, we're doing all 32 teams in draft order as we head to the Motor City for the Detroit Lions. Lions will flash back to 2021. Brought in Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes. Spielman is going to be the team president. A lot of changes. Whole organization is different, and it's looking a lot better than it did during any point of the Matt Patricia era. This team is by far in the best position, I think, to double their win total out of the top five teams. Doubling the win total is something I'm going to talk about a lot with these top five teams and some of the teams outside of the top five. It's something that I think is a good goal for these teams to set for themselves and a realistic one, and that's what you build your off seasons for, is to double your win total, in my opinion. The Lions competed all year. Dan Campbell did a really good job, but at some point, you have to start winning, and the Lions haven't been for too long. Just like these top five teams are probably the five worst organizations in the league right now. There's no team like San Francisco a few years ago that, quarterback got hurt and you just weren't good. There's no team like that. So these top five picks are the five worst organizations in football right now, and Detroit's one of them. Fans are going to get impatient. They already are. They already should be. They have every right to be. So we got to start winning. Dan Campbell's got the locker room. He's got the guys playing hard. That lasts so long when you're losing every week. They won 3 games, but a lot of impressive losses this season. Lots of places to upgrade. If you look at last year's draft, Penei Sewell was a great pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a great pick. I loved Ali McNeil. We're going to talk about all these guys as pieces that they can look to the future with, along with some other pieces. So, 2021 was a pretty good offseason for the Lions. A lot of one-year contracts, almost only one-year contracts given out in free agency. They traded Matthew Stafford, of course, to the Rams, and that blockbuster for 2 first-round picks, Jared Goff, and other assets. I think that's a great trade for them. Stafford wasn't getting you anywhere. It was time to part ways, and they get 2 first-round picks, which sets them up really nicely in the draft for the next 2 years, having double first-round picks. And this year in the draft, they have 3 in the top 34. Will be addressed towards the end of this video, as we always finish with the draft, going in chronological order for the offseason. We'll start with free agency for this team. Going into the 2022 free agency, once again, I think it's a lot like last year. I don't think that there's a lot to expect for the Lions. I'd like to see them take a swing at Calvin Ridley in the trade market. I think that, he's looking for a fresh start. You have the draft capital. You might as well, if you can get him to verbally agree to the extension prior to the trade. It's just a good piece to add. Young, he's going to be here for this rebuilding period, and he helps your offense tremendously, which already has some weapons. So we're starting with a good foundation on his offense with Penei Sewell, with DeAndre Swift at running back. Amon-Ra St. Brown solidifies himself as, at the least, the best wide receiver 2 or 3 a team could have. He had an awesome second half of the season, played good in the first half. Not a lot of guys for this team to re-sign either, but, you got Hawkinson on offense, Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell. There's your building blocks on the offensive side of the ball, and they're pretty good ones. They're better than what most of the teams in the top 5 picks have, and what most of these rebuilding teams in the top 7, 8 have. So not many guys to bring back. If I'm Detroit, I'm bringing back with, you have 35 to 38 million in cap space once this is all said and done, and you can make your cuts. That's the projection. You won't get higher than about 40 million, so not a ton of cap space. Guys like Goff, Trey Flowers on big contracts. So I'm re-signing Alex Anzalone, maybe a year. They need a lot of help at linebacker. Keeping him at the worst, he's going to be depth for you. He was productive last season for them, came from the Saints. So I'm keeping Alex Anzalone, I'm keeping Tracy Walker at safety, and I'm probably going to retain Khalif Raymond just for the depth at receiver. 3 of probably the weakest positions on this Lions team, being linebacker, safety, and receiver. That's it for re-signs, though. Go into free agency, try to get a lot of guys that are once again playing for one-year deals, try to find something out of this crop of free agents, and go after, a wide receiver or 2. I'd offer some of the big guys, pay a little over for a guy like Allen Robinson maybe, or a guy like, Godwin. I think Godwin, Devontae are not even in the conversation for these teams, for this team, or any of these teams in the top 5. But Calvin Ridley's a guy that you can trade for. You can give up a second-round pick. You have the 34th pick. You have the 66th pick, which is the second of the third round. I'd try to trade for Calvin Ridley. Other than that, though, prior to the draft, there's not much that I see going on for Detroit. I don't think it's very desirable to play there. But maybe a sit down with Dan Campbell changes things for free agents. I don't know. But as far as free agency, I just don't expect anything to happen here. And like I said, with the re-signs, they don't have guys that need to be back. They have a couple guys that, don't hurt to bring back. And I mentioned the 3 guys that I only see that with. But other than that, it's all about the draft for this offseason. And you have picks at 2. You have the Rams pick, which is right now 27. It's going to change. I mean, it would probably not, regardless of it staying the same or not, it's going to be somewhere from 24 to 32. Probably right in that 27 range, though. And then you have the 66th pick in the third. Overall, they got 5 picks in the top 100, 10 picks in the whole draft, and 3 in the top 34. One of, a few teams that have that this year. That's always an awesome, awesome number. 3 in the top 40. Always an awesome number for teams that are rebuilding, and 5 in the top 100 is always what you want for teams that are rebuilding. Right off the bat, I'm taking an edge rusher. This pass rush was horrible this past season. Thibodeau, Hutchinson, I think you're going to have your pick. I think Evan Neal is going to be the first pick in this draft. If he's not, you still have one of them. Or you could trade back a few picks depending on what the market looks like. If a quarterback jumps up or if a team really, really, really wants one of these edge rushers, you can jump back a few picks, take a guy like David Ojabo. I don't think either path is necessarily bad. Personally, I'm standing pat. I'm taking my favorite of the 2 or whoever's available. They're both great. They're both guys that this team needs. They need to add a pass rush to help their young corners out. Guys like Okudah, guys like Melifonwu, who was a rookie last year. They need to help these young corners out, and they need to take some pressure off their secondary with a pass rush, as do most teams in this league right now. So you're in prime position to get an edge rusher and significantly improve your defense with 1 pick with your second overall pick. Go to pick 27 and pick 34. I'm probably spending this on the offense. Guys like Chris Olave might fall, depending on where the Lions pick, might be there. Treylon Burks from Arkansas may fall. Jahan Dotson I really like. Just guys like that I try to bring in. You don't need a running back. You don't need a tight end. And at pick 34, you could also go with these receivers, or you could go take a linebacker. They really need linebackers. Overall, you have a great situation with these 2 picks coming at the end of the first round. I don't take a quarterback personally. I think quarterback should be waited on. Maybe next year is when you decide that you need a quarterback. I think the quarterbacks are better. I think the Lions have, clearly they have a very good chance at picking in the top of the draft again next year, and you could trade up next year in the draft, having 2 draft picks, and you'll probably have a high second. I'd skip on the quarterbacks this year, unless maybe Sam Howell falls late. Even then, I don't know. You're paying Goff a lot of money. Probably stick around with what you have right now at the position. And also, this is just totally irrelevant. Don't re-sign Tim Boyle. He's terrible. He's the worst backup quarterback ever, worst college quarterback ever. I don't know why he's on the team. Don't re-sign him, please. Thank you. But drafting a quarterback this year, don't think is their best course of action. You're developing a guy behind Goff. I just think overall, let's wait a year on the quarterback. You could win with Goff right now. You could win a few more games, I think. Help him out, get some receivers, give him some more protection, and hopefully DeAndre Swift can stay healthy to take the pressure off their passing game. He's really good back. And speaking of Swift, he gets hurt. We got to add to this offensive line badly. It's probably the best line of these top 5 teams, but I still want to add to the interior. Certain guys, I just don't, as of now, I'm doing this early, obviously. I don't love any of the guys that are early on, but at pick 66, you should be targeting some offensive line depth. I think that your defense, you spent a lot of draft capital on it the last few years. There's a lot of money invested in it, and it's still not great. So let's just start investing in that offensive line through the draft, get some younger guys, get some youth, get some depth at the worst. And that's all I really got for this Lions offseason. It's a very critical offseason for them, as always, for top teams. But them and, the Jets and the Texans are the only teams that have the stability out of this top 5 where their coach, Texans I could even take off that list because I don't think Dave Culley's going to be around after next year. Seems like a bridge head coaching hire. But Dan Campbell Brad Holmes, these guys are going to be around. Barring an unforeseen circumstance, they're going to be around for most of their contract, if not all of it. Same thing with the guys in New York with the Jets. So this is just a really pivotal draft for them. You have to see improvement. I want to see a doubled win total for the Lions. I want to see them bolster this offense. Don't be afraid to make the Calvin Ridley move. It's going to be a guy that comes up in a lot of these videos that I'm going to make. Don't be afraid to make the Calvin Ridley move. They also, something worth noting as I wrap up here, is they just fired Anthony Lynn today. They're retooling the offense. Obviously, they see the issue with the offense. It's very encouraging that Dan Campbell sees it and didn't hesitate to fire Anthony Lynn, especially because of how Anthony Lynn's regarded as a friend and person in the league. Didn't shy away from firing him, getting rid of him, and retooling that offensive coaching staff. They might as well start retooling the offense now, which is what I think they'll do. So don't be afraid to send pick 34 for Calvin Ridley, or even pick 27 or whatever it ends up being for the Rams, depending on their playoff positioning. So don't be afraid to get a guy like Calvin Ridley. Don't be afraid to take a swing at a free agent like Allen Robinson, a veteran who has been great and just isn't anymore, or is trying to prove that he is again. The Lions are in a pretty good spot right now. I give them one more year until I'm looking for them to compete in November and December for long shot playoff spots. That's still a little bit away, but I'll finish just saying, who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to be in your division next year? I really have no idea right now, and I don't think anyone does. You're playing in a division with the Vikings, whom you beat once this year, the Bears, who you didn't beat, but you could beat twice if you wanted to, the Packers, who without Aaron Rodgers, you could split with them. It's not a division that's tough to compete with. So you got to nail this draft. Brad Holmes has to have a better draft than he had last season. Brad Holmes' draft last year could end up being great. It's already pretty solid. He got 3 starters out of it. As of now, I think he'll end up with 4, because I think one of, Onwuzurike in the second round or Melifonwu will pan out. But got to have a better draft than last year, especially with the offensive playmakers. Amon-Ra St. Brown was great last season. But I'm looking to add another wide receiver this year with a higher draft selection. I'm not hoping for a 4th, 5th round pick. And I'm just looking to bolster this offensive line, bolster the depth. Try to, play out Goff's contract with him starting. Draft the guy next year. We'll see. Time will tell, but Detroit should be primed to win 5, 6, 7 games next season with the proper draft. Don't go crazy in free agency. You don't have the money to. $35 million is not, you shouldn't be spending it all this offseason. I don't know who you would. If you did, it feels like it would be meaningless. I don't think you can get a top guy. And, just I like what Brad Holmes did last year. 1-year deals, draft guys you like, try to build a team through the draft for now. You're not in a position yet to start plugging pieces with big-name free agents, I don't think. But if they do, so be it. That's my offseason plan for the Lions. Next coming is the Houston Texans, and then we go to the exciting Jets and Giants at the 4th and 5th picks. It's going to be an awesome series. I'm really excited to keep doing it. These first few teams are a little tough, I know, to watch, because these are very small markets. Detroit, Jacksonville, Houston. Detroit's a pretty big one, but they've just been bad for so long that it's a dead market. I'm really excited to keep doing these. Make sure to check out GBU tomorrow. It's going to be the Week 18 wrap-up, and coming sometime later this week, we'll have the Texans, probably Friday, Saturday, and then next week is going to be an awesome week, Jets-Giants week. So a lot to talk about coming up, GBU. Good stuff. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at the GBU Pod and on TikTok at the Good Bad Ugly Pod. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and tune into the next one.